Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay. It's at night. Actually, I can leave this up. It doesn't matter. Hope everyone is doing alright. It's still 11:52, so we're still within the day. Let me check my volume. Always check your sound. Because, as I've said, I've done entire shows with no sound, essentially a mime. All right. By the way, the reason that ghastly letter thing is at the bottom is because my show has been demonetized, meaning super chat. Also, in case someone wants to give, there's a link in the box where they can click and they can give a description. They can give through. It's like a PayPal type system. It's legit. It's through PayPal. And a little icon would jump up and dance and shake of some Star Trek character. The character changes depending on the amount that you give. So that's not an impetus to give. That's not saying to give. That's just a heads up to explain why that ghastly letter is at the bottom. Do you remember? Not everybody is going to remember this because most people, I don't think, that watch my channel was here during this time. I was not around. I think my mom was around. Grandmother certainly was around. There's a certain demographic that watches my channel. I've looked at the breakdown in regards to age. So there will be a section of people who would know what I'm going to show. It's going to bring back memories, and they're going to thank me silently for it. Maybe even openly if they're by themselves. Take a look at this. I want to talk about this. I find this to be completely and utterly euphoric.
This new ocean will be a sea of peace or a new terrifying theater of war. I do not say that we should or will go unprotected against the hostile misuse of space any more than we go unprotected against the hostile use of land or sea. But I do say that space can be explored and mastered without feeding the fires of war, without repeating the mistakes that man has made in extending his writ around this globe of ours. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind, and its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
God, I love that speech. Like, you have no idea how much I love that speech. That goal will organize the best of our abilities. He says, I choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, because it is hard. God, I love that. God, I love that speech. And I listen, you look at that and you think to yourself, God, how far we've fallen. Like, he's strutting at that thing. It is the most epic speech in the history of speeches. Ultimately, he's saying we're going to the goddamn moon. We can't even get water. They got lead in the water in Flint. Kennedy, back in his 60s, is a president talking about doing big things, magnificently big, expansive things, We're going to the goddamn moon. That's what we're going to do. We're leaving the planet. That's what we're going to do. I'm John F. Kennedy. We're going to the goddamn moon. That is so magnificent. Do you realize he was giving a challenge? They had no clue how to get to the moon. This wasn't a situation where, yeah, we got this down pat. We know exactly how to do. No. John F. Kennedy in this moment was giving a challenge to the scientists, to us, to humanity itself. This is what we're going to organize ourselves to do. And they pulled it off. We did it. We don't do that anymore. Like, I'm trying to get across this thing. We can't even give ourselves water and flint. And they were able to go to the moon with the power of something like a calculator today. It's a tangent. I'm sorry. It's just, that is an awesome fucking speech. And this idea of trying to organize people around magnificently big goals. This is what we are going to do as a society, as a collective. We are going to do big things. We don't do that. We have austerity. We squeeze the populace, squeeze the public. We make life difficult just to get a buck out of people. Kennedy was talking about going to the moon. It's just such a magnificent thing. I love the speech. But I have a point here. The technology that Kennedy was talking about, that technology was you can say procured through Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was essentially Germans, Nazis coming over after World War II, essentially being ferreted secretly into the United States. Us getting rocket technology. If you remember, towards the end of the war, Germany started firing these newfangled devices, rockets. They were firing missiles into Britain. I forget the name of it. Hitler had a specific name for it, like an Abramash or something, whatever he was calling it. But they made rockets. Germany was so far ahead from the standpoint of technology, it was mind-blowing. Like, they had jet fighters back during World War II. The people didn't even know what they were. Hitler didn't necessarily want to invest in them. It's fascinating to know what Germany could have done with those weapons if they would have just kind of unleashed them. Now, the thing is, there were other issues associated with Germany, essentially dealing with oil. This was the first war for oil. But put that to the side for a moment. I want to focus on the rockets. Those missiles were essentially the things that were, yeah, it still works. Those missiles had the capacity to essentially, fly out of Germany, smash into Britain. We brought them over, the scientists, the Nazis, and we were able to essentially glean information and technology. That information and technology was one of the things, a large part, in helping us get to the moon. That rocket technology and missile technology, in addition to helping us get to the moon, it also has a secondary effect of allowing us to bomb the shit out of people. The bombing the shit out of people, however, is the part that I want to talk about today. I want to segue from that because I want to show that there are other uses of these technologies that don't necessarily involve killing and massacring and murdering. The United States assisting Saudi Arabia, and I guess people say assisting. I guess the question is always, what is the level and the degree to which we're assisting them? And I got to be honest, this kind of breaks. The story doesn't quite work in the way I thought it was going to work. But nevertheless, still, the technology, the technical acumen that we were using back then in order to send a rocket into space, you can make a case that says those are similar logistics that we're helping with these guys to essentially bomb and kill in Yemen. There are other uses to technology. That was the point I was trying to get at. Send a man into space or kill a bunch of people. In this very specific case, what has been, I guess, has exploded on the airwaves that people start paying attention to, the United States has assisted Saudi Arabia in the blowing up of a bus full of kids. A very essentially dozens of children being massacred by a bomb from Saudi Arabia with the backing of the United States. I've done this video multiple times. Mainstream media may now just be getting to Yemen, but if you've noticed, I've done maybe 3 or 4 videos asking the very same question over and over and over. Why are we helping them? Why are we helping them? This is a backwards, theocratic, head-chopping, hand-chopping, crucifying government. Why are we helping them? I ask this question rhetorically, and I don't ask this question to the political class. I don't ask this question to the 1%, and to some degree those things are the same. I'm asking this question to the 99%, to everybody else. You're the ones who are suiting up and fighting in these wars. You're the ones that is assisting with the logistics and everything else that's allowing Saudi Arabia to carry out these raids. You're the one that's flying in these airplanes that allow Saudi Arabia to reload, that allow Saudi Arabia to drop their bombs, or in this case in rocket technology, fire their missiles. Why are we helping? Is this what you've signed up in the military for? Meaning the bravery that you're investing in, the bravery. Let me say it this way. They're leveraging your bravery to do heinous things. Is this really what you want your military doing? Is this really who you want your military helping? And if not, maybe this needs to be addressed. I guess I'm trying to draw attention to this thing of, this is what we are doing. We are assisting a rabidly maniac country. By the way, the same country that has just threatened Canada with a 9/11 style attack. Because let's not forget that the people who were on those planes were Saudis. I don't point this to the political class who was in the pocket of Saudi Arabia. I understand this idea of the pact for oil. We will protect you as long as you give us oil. I understand that. I get that. That doesn't necessarily affect the population itself. And I still have this belief that if the population is riled up against something, that things change. I think if you have numbers, things change. I direct this to the population itself, asking, why? Why do you give your government any support at all in assisting people who are bombing school buses? And by the way, the fact that I've been able to do multiple videos on this gets across that it's not just the school bus. They've killed thousands. Saudi Arabia has the 3rd strongest military in the world. That 3rd strongest military is propped up because we give them tons of American taxpayer money for oil. And they take that oil, for their oil. And the money that they get from us, they turn around and buy more weapons and say, hey, give us more weapons. Give us more of those airplanes. Give us more of those guns. Give us more of those bombs. And they use that in order to beat the shit out of the poorest country in that region of the world, if not the world itself. I'm not sure about the other countries, but definitely in that region of the world. Yemen is the poorest country in that region. This is insanity that we're helping these people do this. This is an atrocity. They've weaponized cholera. There's a cholera epidemic there that's been murdering or killing people by the loads. They've been weaponizing starvation. There's been people dying in mass from starvation. Not to mention the bombings. They were told that there were going to be hundreds of thousands of people that were going to be adversely affected by that bombing, and they did it anyway. And all of this is to put back in place a government that they want. It's because they don't like the government that's in power. This is not a civil war. This is Saudi Arabia bashing the shit out of another nation, of a dirt poor nation, with the backing and the protection and assistance of the United States. Let's be very clear on what this is. And by the way, let's look at what Voice of America has to say. Voice of America, if you don't know, is the United States propaganda arm, propaganda piece. I love this. Voice of America. I love the name, Voice of America. You know, they called it Voice of America, and yet in the entire video they had nothing to say. This would be one of those videos I would have wished they did explain themselves. Why are you in Yemen? How are you in Yemen? How are you assisting Saudi Arabia in doing this? What legal loophole, what figment of law are you using to allow yourself to be in this place? Because after all, we are a country of laws, right? Yes or no? If we are a country of laws, what law are you using to do this? For that matter, what law are you using to be in Syria, or Somalia, and in these other countries? And just so we're clear, thousands, like this one has been getting press, but we're talking about a situation where thousands have been killed. So, I'm going to put the article at the bottom. I have multiple articles, I think that's at the bottom. I was reading a story from the perspective of the Middle East, and they go into this explaining like the number of starvation, the deaths, and everything else. But they get across something else. The media blackout. Like Western media, for the most part, is acting like this didn't exist. Or they would try to decouple the United States from Saudi Arabia, as Saudi Arabia is a separate actor. Now, I don't know if I fully agree that Saudi Arabia is completely a puppet state of the United States. I'm not sure about that part. This piece seems to believe it, but either way, whether a puppet or not, the action itself that's taking place is a massacre. It's an utter massacre. So, all right. I'm going to end this. This is utterly depressing. Dozens of kids massacred by bombs, assisted by us. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we've been assisting them in these bombing raids, the logistics and everything else, the fueling. And to be honest, we don't even know if it's just that. It's possible that our assistance with Saudi Arabia could go much further than what's being told. They've just killed a bus full of kids. But fact is, they've killed hundreds of kids throughout the course of this war. So, it's not even a war. It's one country just bashing shit out of another country, a poor country. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, as always, Patreon. Thanks guys. The story is utterly depressing, but I didn't want to leave it without making that point of why are we helping this bloodthirsty regime. I leave it at that.